Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
What's a common myth about health, nutrition, or fitness that you've learned is actually false? Potatoes are actually nutrient-dense, not just starch. Edit, the myth is that taters are just starch. Assuming you had good nutrition at the starting point, you could survive off of just potatoes for several months before developing any deficiencies. Most of the stuff, vitamins and minerals, that we need on a frequent basis, are in potatoes. This guy watched The Martian. That you can target fat by doing specific workouts. You can't. You can build muscle by doing specific workouts, but your body will burn fat from where it wants, not in that one area. Luckily, it's made weeding out the workout frauds much easier. I'm a guy with gynecomastia, or male breasts. Have had M since I was a kid. Have been ridiculed relentlessly. Anyway, I spent all of my later teens and all of my 20s trying to get rid of them the natural way. I spent 6 hours in the gym a day. I was shredded and still had male breasts. Lifting didn't work, so I went to cardio. I ran a damn marathon and still had them. Like, I spent 4 hours a day running and training and eating perfectly and still had them. You cannot target fat. I would have found a way. Still have M, saving up for the surgery. In my mid-30s now and still cannot stand my body. Edit, so I'm aware it's not actually fat tissue. That is part of the myth, believing that stuff that just isn't true. As a young kid I was bullied a lot and only got called fat, so that's what I knew them as. I now am fully aware that it will do me no good. Also, thanks for your kind words, it means a lot. I had gynecomastia surgery as a teen, thankfully, insurance covered it. Who knew gender-affirming care wasn't just for trans people? And it was great. My surgeon went in through the nipples, so they're a little fucked up, but I don't mind. I love my body so much more after the surgery. Feel free to DM me with any questions. Slightly off topic, but people haven't learned the recent news that we now believe we know what the appendix does. It's a backup storage for gut bacteria so it can help replenish itself, like after antibiotics. There have also been studies that removal of the appendix when you're younger can lower the risk or delay onset of Parkinson. The protein that contributes to its development likes to live in the appendix, so it's gone, it won't bioaccumulate. This is really early studies, nothing concrete yet, but when I had mine out in my mid-20s, my surgeon and me geeked out over the studies in my post-op appointment. I had my appendix out when I was 14, I'm 39 now. I don't have Parkinson's, nor does anyone in my family, but I don't shit right either, and I haven't for a couple of years. I wonder if not having an appendix has fucked up my biome. Edit, thanks for all the suggestions. I had a colonoscopy in DEC and all was fine except a small non-cancerous polyp that was removed. Due for another check in about 2 years. Seems like I don't digest food all the way, so I'm taking cholesterol and fiber. Also making sure I'm chewing my food thoroughly. For real, focus on the next time you eat. You'll be amazed at how little you chew to make a real mush before it goes down, but we'll ask to check gallbladder too. Happy pooping. Poop. I thought black people, me, didn't need sunscreen because melanin protects us against the sun. Evidently that's not entirely true. Told a workmate from the UK who was traveling to NZ she best get some good sunscreen. She didn't listen because she had never been burnt before. Black plus it's the UK. I did try to explain it didn't matter that she was black, NZ sun will fuck you up. She came back and sheepishly told me she got badly burnt with blisters after spending all day at a beach. Babe, I tried to tell ya. She also then had to buy NZ sunscreen, which is about 3 times the price. Yep, black guy from Montreal came for an install, went for a walk at lunch assuring us he didn't burn. Had to call in sick. Don't fuck with ours, NZ sun. My Sil is black and she is extremely careful in the sun because she lost her grandfather to melanoma. I'm careful in the sun because I have the complexion of a sickly, Victorian child and have had precancerous moles removed. So we end up being shade, umbrella buddies for every outdoor family gathering, lol. Detox teas don't work. You're just paying to have diarrhea. Your organs do the real detoxing, for free. A Little Caesars pizza does the same for about as much as the fancy teas for me. Most cases less money. I love a good hot and ready detox. Lifting weights to get bigger and stronger doesn't have to be complicated. In fact, the most effective workout plans and routines are quite boring after a while. This idea that every session needs to be different or changed up for variety or target a very specific area of muscle growth is ultimately more trouble than it's worth. There's a reason 5x5 as a routine has been around forever. It's simple, boring but effective. The hardest part is making it a consistent activity. Edit to add, well, this blew up. Okay, boring may not have been the best word for all you people hung up on semantics. Repetitive is the better word. And doing the same workout, and working toward progressive overload, can feel repetitive, and at times, when you don't feel like working out, it can get boring. Moral of the story, simplicity and consistency are your friends. The end. Have fun. Yeah, people get confused by the idea of progressive overload. They heard if you don't mix it up you won't get results, not realizing upping weight representative count counts as progressive overload. It doesn't mean you have to always be doing different things, just challenging yourself at your current strength. That's my other gripe, is people not realizing they need to challenge themselves more. And like you said, that challenge and the progressive overload is actually the variety you need. That heart disease is essentially a one-way trip. You can absolutely reverse arterial plaque buildup with the right diet and a bit of exercise. All natural deaths in my family have been from heart disease or arteriosclerosis. Got tested for cholesterol levels at 24 yo. Doctor told me prior that everything about me was in great shape, nothing to worry about. LDL cholesterol was literally off the chart. Over 190 milligrams per deciliter. They couldn't give me an exact number cause that's as high as they could register. Tested it twice more with different labs to make sure and the results were the same, off the chart. Changed my diet, started doing exercise throughout the day instead of all at once to avoid straining my heart. Asthma doesn't help, started managing my ADHD to make doing that a bit easier. Proud to say that 8 years later, it's finally down to 110 milligrams per deciliter. Still more to go, but it took 3 years to get below 190. I'm pregnant now, and I'm grateful I made the change, cause I want to be in this kid's life for as long as I can. This is sort of true, but like gaining weight, it's much harder to fix it and keep it fixed than it is to just avoid the issue in the first place. Oh for sure, but the newer research proves how insanely effective a good diet really is. This one is very impressive. https://pubmed.ncbi.nlm.nih.gov/333414113/ This is a low salt, high veg, no junk food type of diet. They measured CTA plaque progression numbers of -21 mm³ in 66 weeks, 51 if coupled with medication. To compare, the baseline progression is about 4.9 mm³/3 per year. Even the high-fat keto study only produced plus 18.8 mm³/3 per year. https://www.jack.org/doi/10.1016/j.jackadev.2025.101686. So the healthy diet is even more powerful than the unhealthy diet, but in the opposite direction, of course. Edit, someone pointed out that the plus 18.8 number doesn't appear in the study. They are correct. The researchers, who are keto influencers, outright hid the data from view. They eventually released the median number 18.8 via Twitter, which was more or less confirmed by internet sleuths. https://x.com/motojackson1/status/1913660591710875758. Edit number 2, someone else pointed out that my explanation of the disco study was flawed. In reality, everyone had advanced heart disease and were all taking standard medication per the guidelines. But the control arm went on the special diet and did 30 mm³ better than the medication alone arm. So absolutely do not stop taking your medication if you're already on it due to heart disease. Eat fat, get fat. Fat is actually important in your diet. The problem is that fat is very calorie dense and delicious. If you're not paying attention to how much fat you eat, it's super easy to overdo it. I love cashews. They were my favorite snack until I learned how shockingly easy to eat 500 calories worth of cashews. Like to the point when I stopped buying them, I lost 5 pounds very quickly without changing anything else. Natural means nothing. It's a logical fallacy. Arsenic is natural, mercury is natural, lots of natural things are toxic. Stop trying to convince me that something is good because it's natural. Oh, and that goes triple for chemicals that are used. Natural doesn't mean it's better. I recently read how a winery was using a natural herbicide. It's a lot more toxic than the artificial ones. They were poisoning people, almost as annoying as organic salt. I lost my mind laughing when I saw an ad for organic salt in like 2005. I showed everyone. Nobody got it. Thank you for being the first time I see somebody make that comment before I did. Several years ago, I was an apple festival and one of the growers was selling their heirloom varieties, and an angry patron demanded to know why their apples weren't organic. The guy gave a lengthy explanation of how organic apples are much worse for the environment, because the only approved organic fungicides that work are copper and sulfur based, so if your trees develop apple scab fungus, you have to cover the whole tree in it and it damages the tree and destroys the soil in the process. The guy finished by explaining that they spray as little as possible and instead focus on making their orchard healthy in other ways, for example removing standing water and raking up leaf piles where the fungus grows. After having all of this explained to her, the woman declared that she only ate organic and that they should be an organic farm and walked away without buying anything. First, your username is great. Second, I am totally convinced that at some point people forget to be humble. Humility is what allows us to change our minds when presented with new information or better data. For some reason people are more proud to be ignorant than to embrace new ideas. Sigh. That poster of the food pyramid that was in every classroom growing up. Yes, that thing was drilled into my brain as the correct diet. Now I know it's lobbyists from each industry who created it. Semi-related, that you only need 21 days to develop a habit. I see so many people giving up on exercise routines because they didn't develop it within a month, so they just assumed that it wasn't right for them. This is one of those pop psychology things where someone misinterpreted and completely simplified a study that was not even related to habits, then made a whole bunch of money off of it, and now everyone thinks that you should be able to develop habits in 21 days or something is wrong with you. It takes 21 days for a potential neural pathway to form. It takes 6 months for it to become habituated. Edit, I don't think I ever read anything about a habit forming in less than 3 months. That is to say, habitual, as in you don't have to think about it. Repeat anything enough and it becomes normal.